Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Table and Able. We're doing Shulchan Aruch Yomi, Simon Kuf Nun Tet 159 in Orach Chaim. The topic of this simon is basically not only Adayim, but case of Mayim Liyodov. What type of kli? You have to use a washing cup, a nice washing cup, an expensive washing cup. I mean, I have silver. I'm just not going to say that. No. Any washing cup is okay under certain circumstances, certain stipulations. And also, we're going to learn about something called koach adam that has to come from the force of a person, not water that just comes by itself. And Ian, to lean on, talk why that's true. Why in the we're so makbid that some person poured the water on your hands, whether it be you or somebody else. Aleph, ain't only adayim ela b'kli. You have to use a kli. Everyone knows for Netilas Yadayim, you take one of those washing cups. You buy in the Judaica store. You're not going to find them anywhere else. Technically, you don't have to have the handles. The reason people are mocking on the handles is because if you don't have handles, so we're going to learn that if you don't pour revius of water on the hand the first time, our minhag is to do twice on the first hand, on the right hand, twice on the left hand. So if the first time you pour on the right hand, it's not revius, even if the second time together it is a revius, there's still mayim tmeim, which might be on the cup. And then when you take it with your second hand to pour with your right hand, you take it with the right hand that was free, that was being poured on. Now you're taking the cup with the right hand to pour on the left hand. The right hand might touch water, might put water that's tummy on the cup. So, or it might touch water that was fell off the top of the cup and touched your left hand that was pouring on your right hand. Now it's on the cup and now it becomes tummy. So therefore, make sure to have handles. That's the reason. Really, there's no halachic basis for having handles. So chumrah, you can take a regular plastic cup, you find them, I'll call it, or in a supermarket in America, convenience store in America, and use that. Ain't only a diamond of a kli, it has to be a kli. Any type of kli is okay. It doesn't have to be a fancy washing cup. Afilu kli galalim, even a kli that was fashioned out of galalim, out of dung, animal dung. It's made out of dirt combined with a lot of times fertilizer. Sometimes manure has, dung of animals. You could fashion it in certain kalim. Obviously, it probably doesn't smell so bad. You won't be getting near it. Uklei avanim, uklei adama. Similarly, it can be made out of stone or it can be made out of the earth. The entire cup has to hold a revius. Now, you don't have to pour a revius on each hand, but it has to be at least a revius, the cup itself. And if it only has revius, you have to fill it to the top. Let's say there's a small hole in the cup. How big does the hole have to be to passel the cup? If you put the empty cup into a liquid, right, without it overflowing the brim of the cup, the water would enter from the outside. Which is a little bigger than if the water is in the kli. It's a hole big enough to get out. That's smaller than a hole that's necessary for the water to get in. So only if you have that big of a hole. You can't use it for even if the hole is towards the top of the cup and towards the bottom there's no holes, it has revius. Technically, it's not a good kli. That's only if you're going to pour water on your hands from the rim from the top of the cup. Right? If the hole is above where it's machzik or revius, it's a hole that would passel, and it has to go through that hole to the top of the cup. So then you're using that part of the cup, and it's passel. It's not part of the kli. They're not coming from the kli. But if you're going to pour the water through that hole, right? It's a small hole. It has below that hole, there's a machzik revius, and then you pour through the hole on your hands. Shari, because it doesn't have to be, as long as the kli on the bottom holds a revius, that makes it a good enough kli. The top part is possible, but if you pour it out of the top part where the hole is, that's okay. Gimel kli shemachzik revius. Also, some kalim, the bottom of them are not flat; they are circular or come to a point where you would put it down, it would fall over. You have to prop it up, otherwise it's going to fall over. Ain't no kli. That's not called a kli. It has to be able to sit flat and be unassistedly held by itself, stand by itself. Megufa shel chava. Sometimes you have the lid of a barrel. Sheichada, right? It comes to a point. Even maybe it has a little hole in it. You can put water. Ain't nothing memena. You can't use it if you lose that. If you made it wider on the bottom, you dug out the bottom where it's able to sit firmly by itself and stay in place. So then you could use it for a kli. These types of canteens made out of leather. Now, if you're familiar with canteens, I don't know if people used to go camping when they were younger, or maybe you are younger and you're listening this year and use canteens. A lot of them are circular. Some of them have a flat part on the bottom to prop it up, to sit straight on the ground. Some of them are just circular. So if it's circular, it doesn't have a place to stand on the ground, so all the water will come out. That's not a kli. Shtikdan v'asan lehen beis Moshe, but you're a handy guy. You fixed the canteen so that it should have a flat bottom. Note them them. You could use it. Aval, there's no problem of tasha v'loman also over here when it comes to the time. Aval sak v'kupa shen skin on l'sheves below smicha. Let's say you have a sock, which is sackcloth, or a kupa, or a box. You get a box from Amazon. Hey, maybe that's actually a box from Amazon. You put some heavy duty tape on the bottom. It's a kli. It's flat. The box is right. Right. You put tar, or as I mentioned, heavy duty tape. You can't use that for Netilas Yadayim. Why not? They're not men. They're meant to carry the Adidas hat that you got from Amazon. Not to put your Coca-Cola. It has to be a kli that was made for one of its functions, to hold liquids. You want to take your black hat. If you want to find a makor for black hats. Here, it talks about it over here. Your hats are made out of felt over here. Perish beged kasha. Felt hats. I feel shame kashim. Kol kashim makalamayim enam zavman. Even those really cheap ones that are really, really stout and don't bend like the good old Borsalinos, that are very flexible. Most people, some people nowadays, when it rains outside, they'll turn their head upside down and makabel water. But most people don't use their hat. They use their hat to protect themselves from the water, or not to drink from. People that pass from town to town, they don't have cups with them. A lot of times they'll take their hats, they'll fill it with water and drink from it. This is a good tip to know if I'm ever camping. I'm wearing like a hat, like my Adidas hat, my Under Armour hats. I went from I had two hats. I had really one functioning hat, one good hat I bought in the airport, New York Mets hat. Mets fan. I bought a number of years back before I got married. And I also had an old Blue Jays hat or something like that. I wasn't so fond of that hat. So even the Mets hat, doesn't look so good. So I ordered some new hats recently from Amazon. So I got, first I ordered, and I was in America last year. I got a Nike hat. It's really a golf hat. It's like a gray basic hat just for basketball. And then I'm getting into the colors more. I gotta, spice it up when I stay up on the court. You gotta look stylish also. So I ordered an Under Armour hat. It's like a blackish gray. Happens to be nice. It didn't come, which is interesting. So it got late, so I got a refund for it. I ordered another one. I ordered a red one. I went bold. That came, and then a couple of weeks later, the one that got lost in the mail ended up coming. I got that one for free. So I had two Under Armour hats, plus my Nike hat, plus my Mets hat, and then I was able to order an Adidas hat, a black one with the red Adidas, the old Adidas logo. I think it's a really nice hat. Complement my wardrobe to go with different outfits that I wear on the basketball court. Gotta go in style. So if you're passing, it makes sense actually, right? I mean, the reason I got so many hats, not just for basketball, so when it rains outside, I don't have a hood. I don't know, what do you wear? You wear a baseball hat. So I have that. So if I want to drink from it, a lot of people, they don't have a cup to drink. You use your baseball cap for that. So that's technically what you could do. But is you can wash your hand from your baseball cap. Hey, if the kli is made with a circular bottom or a jagged bottom, and it normally comes with something that supports it, so that's the way it normally is. It's normally able to sit by itself. Kli mali nekavim mitachtov piv sar lamala. Shemanich adam etzbo alav ina mayim yotzim u'shemashir mayim yotzim mutar litol meno achabi she'eno machzik klum. Kevin Asa the Kabbalah b'inyan zeh v'zeket hashmisho nira Kelly. It's called a kli, right? Let's say you have some of these things, these are toys in the bathtub. You have like things with all the holes on the bottom. Your kids play with in the bathtub. So if you have a kli like that, and you want to prevent the water, so you put your hand on the bottom where all the holes are, right? And then you take your hand away so the water comes out. You can use that because that's the way it's made. It's the way it's made is that you're supposed to hold your hand there and then take your hand away so that the water falls out. It's called a kli. Certainly if it has a faucet underneath. Right? The reason it has a faucet, obviously meant to keep the water in a little bit until you turn on the faucet and let the water come out. Some people, they're lazy. Can you wash your hands for me? So the guy goes to the faucet, he takes his hands like this. He takes a cup, he puts water in his hands, and he puts it on other guy's hands, right? You can't do that. It's called Natila from someone else's hands. Your hands is not called a kli. Similarly, if you took a kli, you put it on one hand, and then you just rub the other hand, that's not good. Rabbeinu Tam Matir B'zu. I agree with Rabbeinu Tam on this. As I explained, the whole point of Tilas Yadayim is just that your hands should become clean. It started from a kli. As long as your first hand was tahora, because if you pour less than a revius, then the first water, even though they're matah your hand, the water remains tummy. So therefore, when you put it on your other hand, that's you're putting tummy water in your second hand. If you use our revius on the first hand one time, so then it's tahor, not just only your hand tahor, but the water is tahor also. So when you touch it and you rub on your other hand, so therefore you're putting tahor water on your second hand. The minhag is to follow Rabbeinu Tam. Really, the Ramah says the main svara, even though Tilas Yadayim probably is a rabbanon, you should try to be machmir, since that's the main svara. Right? If it was just equal svara, you'd say something rabbanon l'kul. However, since the main svara seems to be the machmir, there is an opinion Rabbeinu Tam is matir, so we try to be machmir. V'diavad you can be mekel. This is a new halacha. Not only does it have to, the kli has to be fashioned in a way that it's a real kli that's used to wash your hands, it also, the water has to come from that kli through the power of a person, right? When you take a washing cup, you are the one that pours the water in your hand. You're the kavach hanosen. And get into pipes and running water, putting your hand under a faucet. We'll see in a second. Let's say you go near a field and there's irrigation system set up, and someone is in the Yor, or not necessarily the Nile River, but he's in the stream of water or the lake or whatever, and he's pouring water into the irrigation system. You have pipes that bring it to different parts of the field. And you can't put your hands underneath the edge of the pipe. When he put it in the pipe, right, it took a long time before it got to you. You're far away from him, so it stopped and it started, right? It stopped, and then he put more water in. It kept on going, so it already lost the koach of the nosen. However, if it's a small pipe and he pours it in right away, and right away it's going to come on your hands through the pipe, even though you don't really put it under a place, he doesn't pour the water in your hand, he's pouring the water in a pipe and it's going in your hands, that's good for Netilas Yadayim. They're coming, the waters, even though they're going through the pipes, they're coming through the power of a person who put them in the pipes. Let's say about Tfilas Yadayim, where you just put your hands in the pipe. It doesn't work with tefillah. She'uvim, right? Normally there's two ways of going to the mikvah. One way is go to a spring, even if the water is moving. And when it comes to mikvah, gathered water, it has to be that it's not moving. And in a gathered water, if you use a kli to get it into that gathered water, it's called mayim she'uvim. It's a psul midrabanan. Mayim she'uvim are puzzle. So here also they're puzzle, because the person put it in the pipes, so it's mayim she'uvim. Meaning he put it in a kli and then put it in the pipe. The pipe itself is not a problem. The problem is he gathered in a kli and he put it in, so it's mayim she'uvim. If he pours it outside pipe and he just he hits the water so that it should be mashach, he draws the water. He he draws the water that should go into the pipe. Even though it was originally in a kli, so it was mayim shuvim, it should be possible. The halacha is mayim shuvim. A lot of things mikvahs work this way, is that they have two places. They have the place outside of the place where you actually go in the mikvah, and the place inside. The place outside, they can actually use kalim to put the water in, because it's not a problem, because then they have a pipe that goes between the two bodies of water, and it's mashach, right? It draws the water from one body of water to the other body of water, and therefore shu'um shem shichu, Chazal said, is kshera. Even if he takes and he puts into near a pit, right? Imadli nakov me'achorav bekonis mashka, which is shofich derech people siddur mekalech me'achorav liyor. Ma'apil bor hidayim with the horos the chashiv kilu hitpil bayor. The nitzok zeh mechaber hakli liyor b'chashiv mayim shebetziner mechubaron me'mayar. Unusual case over here. He talks about if the pail or the person is taking and putting in his irrigation pipe, right? He's pouring it into the pipe, but in the back of the cup, right, there's a hole in the back of the cup, so it's squirting out the back of the cup. So you could be tovel your hands in those waters because he's pouring water into the yor. Now, the yor is kosher water. The yor is stagnant water that wasn't touched by a kli. He took a kli and he's pouring into. You can't use the water there. But the water's coming out of the back, so the water from the front of the kli is in one. The water is flowing out. It's one pouring, so it's attached to the yor, so to speak, through that flow of water, and it's attached to the water in the kli, and then it's coming from the back of the kli also. So that's nitzok. It's an attachment. You're attaching to the yor itself, just like you would be told your hands in the yor in a stagnant body of water. And a mikvah, we'll see later on, is okay. Here also, nitzuk is okay. Right? Technically, by tevila, we don't rely on nitzuk. So some say it's okay here, but that's only by tevila, which is doraisa. Here in Tefillah the Rabban is okay, and some say also in the Tefillah Zayin we're machmir haga. The Ramah says only tell other most on avonim akum lakosel. I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about the Western Wall. A wall exactly. And somehow there are pipes that are dispensing water into the wall, and you put your hands near the wall, and the water is coming out of the wall. Now, even though the wall has, let's say, a hole in it, which is revius, in the Kabbalah revius, right? And you're taking the faucet, and you're turning the faucet on, and it's going on your hands, because it's not a kli. Avonim are not a kli. You might have a hole to share revius, but it's not a kli. It wasn't fashioned for the purpose of a kli. Just like if you have a sackcloth or something, it wasn't made for that. But if it was, it wasn't made for a kli, and you dug and you made it a kli itself, like there's no problem with tassel and asoy, and then you attach it as part of the kosel, and it's okay. This is an important halacha to know, right? Everyone thinks until it's you got to go take a cup, or maybe we'll see go onto the faucet. What do you have? A pail of water. Just put your hands in the pail of water. If the kli, the pail is stuck, it's glued to the ground, there we're machmer over there, because it's like people are going to confuse. People say this is exactly like tvila. Tvila you just do it in the ground. For tvila, this is no good. Tvila, you need arboim saw. You need a big shear, and a pail is not arboim saw. So therefore, it's attached to the ground. People get confused, and therefore they made netilas yadayim also usher in this fashion. However, the pail is not attached to the ground. Some are mekel. The halacha is dot bahag. The Torah and Hagos Maimoni say it's not good. In a time of emergency, you could stick your hands in this bucket of water. And since it's a suffix, whether or yote, if you have an opportunity to do regular netilas afterwards, you should do it, but don't make a bracha because you might have been yotze already. You have a barrel that has water in it. You have a big barrel of water. Let's say a bottle of water, bottle of Engedi water. You take, and it's very heavy, so you just hold it between your knees, and you put your hands underneath your knees, so the water should go on your hands, right? However, if it fell on the ground, right, and the water is coming out of it, you want to put, and there's a hole at the top of the Ein Gedi bottle, right, and you put your hands underneath it. because there it fell by itself. There was no placing. We're going to see in a second. Ma'isa barza. If there was a faucet there, be'esh davar sosim beneka v'sira v'kibal mayim Allah yadav chashav shabbat kol gavra. The reason it's not good when the bottle falls in the water is because I didn't place the bottle of water. If I place the bottle of water on the side and water is now coming out, it's just emptying out of the bottle, that's called koach adam. I put it there. Then he jumps to a case of a faucet, a modern day case. We have a faucet, right? Beneka v'sira v'kibal anayim al yadav, right? What every faucet has. The water is constantly running through the pipes. This I found out, unfortunately, on Mosei Shabbos when the pipe burst underneath the sink in my master bedroom, and it exploded and it was threatening to engulf the entire room. I didn't know that you could just shut off the water. Finally, my brother-in-law came, was able to shut off the water. I didn't realize that water, I'm trying to go shut off the washing machine. The only thing that's on, maybe the pipe, the washing machine was on, didn't help. The water was gushing out and it was coming to my whole bedroom. It was flooding the bedroom. It was coming out so quickly. Thank God he shut it off. We had to, siphon all the water off the carpet into a hole. We had to have a carpet cleaner come. We have carpet in our room, and we had to pay 1,200 shekel just to clean the carpet, and the carpet needed a cleaning, but 1,200 shekel, an extra 500 shekel more than usual. It wasn't fun, and it could still moist the carpet in our bedroom. Wasn't able to get everything. So, the idea is that water is always running through the pipes. What you do is the faucet, basically, when you turn it off, you're putting a break that the water shouldn't come out anymore. Then when you turn the pipe on, you're removing that maester, that monea thing, which is the block, and it's going to come out. So if you do that, you did something, right? You remove the blockage. It came out in your hand. Since we know you were supposed to wash 4 times, every one of those 4 times you have to turn it off and turn it on. Technically, the Ber Halacha says, the Rambam says that really, b'diavad, you can rely on turning on the first time and going 1, 1, 1, 1, because it's called koach gavra in the beginning, as long as you turned it on, even if you don't turn it off and on 4 times. Let's say, like we said, a case, a barrel of water or a bottle of water was full, and he leaned it on the ground and he went. We said before, if he himself put it on the ground and the water was spurting out the whole day, since he purposely did it, put it in that position, therefore it's called koach gavra. Everyone could put water on your hand, not just yourself. I feel cheresh shota v'katan. Even if a cheresh, someone who's deaf or shota or is mentally incapacitated, v'katan, over galul, non-Jew, nida, she's menstrually impure. It doesn't make a difference. We'll see in Yud Beis, we'll talk about a monkey. Some say if he's under 6 years old, his mind doesn't really work so well. He's like a monkey, and a monkey, it's a machlokas. We pascha know it doesn't matter how old the kid is. If he uses koach gavra to pour on your hands, it's good enough. Yud Beis makof, a monkey, perish min chaya. Those in Maimli Yadayim, he puts water on your hands. Yesh postlin, some pastel, the toast post and the rush pastel. Yesh machshirim. The Rambam and the Rashi say it's good. The Niram Divrayim. Shulchan Aruch says the Iker Psak is that it's good. Mikol Makom Yesh Lahachmir. You should try to be machmir l'katchila, if you can, not to use the monkey. Meaning, if you're at the zoo and the monkeys escape and they're trying to do this to Dayim, maybe go to the tigers. You give them l'katchila yikamin hanotil n'tila hamachsher l'achila. L'katchila, you also have the kavanah for Tilas Yadayim, right? You should do in kavanah that should be in Tilas Yadayim for achila, like we saw on yesterday. Right? If you only had kavanah just to clean your hands, maybe it's not good for until it's time for the meal. So you have to have kavanah for until hamachshar la'achila. The kavanahs no say nami moel afilu l'chadchila afilu shlo kiven anotel klal. If someone else is pouring water for you, if he has kavanah, that's good enough. You don't have to have kavanah yourself, as long as he was mechaben. But the other we say, even if there's no kavanah, you could rely on that natila as long as you were doing it for a meal. Yadal hitbil yadav meimayan. We talked about tevilah in spring. Spring is, even if the waters are moving, it's a good tevilah. So he put his hands in a mei mayan, in the waters of a spring. Also on tevilah, you don't need 40 sa by a maya. So it's good tevilah. As long as your hands are completely immersed at one time, it's good. I mean, people have made mikvah. They put it in a mikvah. And some say it's like a mayan. You don't need arba'im sa. Some say it's like you want to be machsh your hands through tefillas yadayim, right? You're not There's no koach adam over here, but so you need 40 sa to be a kosher mikvah. And aktina g'dira mekel, we paskin. Interestingly enough, that you can rely on a mikvah that's less than 40 sa, even though it's not kosher for tvilas haguf, for your hands, which is only draban or mekel. Nonetheless, since it's a machlokes, I don't know why we always say that yesh lahachmir l'chila. If it's two legitimate opinions, savik draban l'kula, even l'chila. Tadvav meg shamim shem zochelim. Rainwater, right, that are moving. Perish nimshachim v'hochim she'enim mechunasim, right? When it's raining, the water runs down the street to the gutter. It's a big rain, so there's 40 sa. So here you have 40 sa. However, the water is moving, right? Mega shamim have to be stagnant. Only May Mayan can be moving. Mega shamim have to be stagnant. So for tfilas haguf, it's not good. So just like we said before, if it's stagnant but it's not 40 sa, maybe it's good according to the Rabbeinu Yonah and the Rashba say it's okay. Similarly over here, it should be okay. And some say, like we said before, it should be machmir. Again, it's a savik d'Rabbanan, and you could be mekel. The Ted Zayin, our boim saw, and I am shuvim shebekarka, 40 saw, but they're shuvim, which are pasul d'Rabbanan for tefillas haguf. The Rambam ain't bilam has yadayim. According to him, it's not good for tefillas haguf. It's not good for tefillas yadayim. Well, the Ravid not bilam. The Ravid, like we're saying before, that you could rely on it because it's similar to tefillas haguf. So it's a respectable type of natila. Ushuva shem shichu akula. Let's say water that shuvim that you drew right to another body of water. Gamla Rambam is bilam because that's kosher even for tefillas haguf. Yud Zayin lo yital ma'anar mayim yado achas v'yital yado hashenis. Now you want to go to a river, put one hand in for tefillas yadayim, and then take it out and put it and rub it with your second hand. Levisha enum kan lo natila v'lo tzvila. Right, the natila is the kolach gavra put on the second hand, but the tvila, you didn't do tvila on both hands, right? The only thing that was kosher over here was the first hand, was the tvila. And then to take that water and put it on the second hand, that's not good because it's not a real natila over there. You have to put it in the actual mikvah. However, if you did a real natila, meaning you poured water on one hand with a cup, and one hand you would in tefillah, yadav taharos, then you had both of them, even though one was koach tefillah and one was koach natila, together, that's good enough. There's one, it's a mila to actually be tofel your hands, to put them in a mikvah. You don't have to do 2 times, like we're going to learn later on. You don't have to dry it, and you don't have to pick up your hands. All these things we'll see in the coming simanim. Chumras you have to do when you do tefillah sedayim. Tefillah is more pure because tefillah even works for your body. Chaf, when you do tefillah, the proper bracha, even though you would think maybe it's tefillas yadayim, the proper bracha still is netilas yadayim because it's a takana for the suda. The Rama says no, you should make tefillas yadayim or shvichas yadayim because what you're doing over here, you're not using a kli, you're not using koach gavra. Nonetheless, it works mikoach tefillah. That's what you should say. Nonetheless, the Mishnah Berurah says the proper nusach of the bracha is netilas yadayim. The only time when you actually say al tefillas yadayim is if you're doing it in a way that wouldn't be kosher for natila, but would kosher for tevila. The mayim hapsulim in natila, we're going to see later on what type of water you have to use, and they're only kosher for tevila. And then you can't use natila sedayim, so you have to say al tefila sedayim. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian to lean on. We'll talk more about these necessities of koach gavra and a kli fashioned by Adam. Why are these things important by natila sedayim? Ian to lean on coming up next.